lineup as well. And we're going to see who can navigate these comps better. Get the top no snowball just like it did in the last game. But here we go. Game 2 of the series is afoot. Team Dignitas now on the blue side, TSM in the red.
Biofrost electing to stick with the Ignite, so look for them to really try to make some of those aggressive plays. He really needs to utilize this Summoner spell in the early game, I feel, for it to pay off. It's so much weaker than than Exhaust in the later stages of the game, so I really do want to look to see them play aggressive or make aggressive roams to have that pay off. And you know, TSM has the more straightforward 5v5, kind of flank him, get behind him, look for that sort of team fight. Whereas Dignitas, a lot of it is going to be about kiting. You're going to have to see Karma shielding people up, kiting backwards, not allowing your opponents to get behind you because they do not have any true tanks.
That's true. It's going to always be difficult to coordinate. Thankfully for Team Dignitas, they do have double shields. Oriana's got some Karma as well. Haunter going to get pushed out, but has plenty of time to recall and get back to lane. He's not going to miss out on anything other than helping Svenskar in his own jungle, as you see Chaser and Someday running through. No surprises here Keystone-wise. Everything feels pretty normal. The only thought being that Poppy did go Courage, supposed to grasp. That is a debatable choice. Nice.
And Fervor also is worth pointing out. Not that it's a shocker, but definitely you see Thunderlords a lot.
Yeah.
Fervor is something that is a little bit more niche, and I think it makes sense into certain tank matchups where you can kind of get those autos off more freely. You can kind of harass and freely do those attacks without as much threat of retaliation, whereas usually people are going Storm Raiders and Thunderlords kind of prioritize quick, short trades.
Yeah. For what it's worth, Thunderlords really would be a shocker. Just it's how the ability works. It's a lightning strike. Just had to bring that one out there.
4 out of 10.
4 out of 10. Yeah, it's, I'd give 5 out of 7, but I get you.
Okay.
Maybe 9 out of 10 with Rice.
Yeah.
All right. Keenan and Bjergsen 1v1 in the mid lane. Ooh, he shields the damage. Keen wins.
Oh, wow.
All right.
You know what's actually kind of interesting is this is the first year I feel like I've seen TSM ever lose or get close to losing fan votes.
Yeah. Normally it's 90%. Then Worlds happen. You're like, you know what? Yeah, look at this. Really good poke going down. And I mean, I have to imagine that was Biofrost looked for a hook or a flay and it didn't land. And then they just had all the options they needed to go for the attacks. Of course, you can click on him and know that he's got the flay charging and know he doesn't have hook available.
It's really brutal, especially when you take into consideration what we were talking about earlier. He took the early game Summoner. He was looking to kind of smash this lane, and now, you know, going to have to chug a lot of potions here. And it's interesting. Turtle is now going for the longsword start here. We saw Lod do it last game. Turtle is going for it this game. And could be a lot of attention to this bot side. Chaser already moving his way down. Svenskar is on the bot side of the map. Always have to be watching out for those Thresh Lantern ganks. Very powerful at level 3.
Definitely agree. Things to watch for. Gotta be something from scrims. I haven't seen the longsword starts in solo queue, but yeah, Turtle and Lod both in their respective turns did the greedier starts, trying to get their casting items together a bit sooner. It'll be interesting to see how it pays out. It did work for Lod at the end. He, you know, seemed reasonably effective. Didn't seem to be lacking the lifesteal by any means. But look at that poke coming in. Of course, until you poke 3 health potions worth of life off, they're going to be fine.
But Turtle's already used 3 potions. Like, that's pretty brutal now. He doesn't actually have a lifesteal from his item, and he's used all his potions. Lod hasn't even used 1. Turtle has used 3, so that really shows how the lane is going so far.
Yep.
I'm also going to be interested to track what kind of a build Turtle is going for. Is he going for more of the kind of auto attack focused build, or is he going for more what we're seeing, which has been recently the kind of spellcaster type builds, Ghostblade, Tier, these sorts of things. More like a standard mid lane Varus build as you think of it. That has been popularized in Korea a lot. We saw it earlier today as well here in NA, so I'm definitely interested to see which version he's going to choose.
Biofrost actually takes both halves of the Karma Q. Normally if you walk in a straight line, you don't take that extra shot, but he sidestepped a bit and took about damage he didn't need to. Not going to end the landing phase by any means, but still unlucky for him a little bit. You got Svenskar backfilling the top lane here, making sure Haunter's okay, not getting dove. They're hoping that Someday goes for a trade. Haunter, you see playing really aggressively, hoping to bait out to the skies, hoping he goes for the melee range attack, which is not happening. Someday playing a bit more defensive this time.
Certainly is, and this is a matchup that a lot of people talk about as being pretty Jace favored, and while I do agree in the early stages, it does get to this point with Poppy, as long as you don't get too far behind, that you kind of just stop taking very much damage. You get early Tab Eyes, you get a Chain Vest, you go into the Sunfire Cape, you have so much early armor that Jace really struggles to kind of punch through and deal his damage.
Definitely agree. I know we saw it pretty commonly at Worlds, and it was like, yeah, you can win the early laning phase, you have the push lead, you can invade the jungle, and then the tank becomes tanky.
Look at Turtle. This is risky.
Yeah. Well, he's got Warlord's Bloodlust now, and they know there's not really that much all-in power. It's not like there's Ignite on a special, so at this point he's getting the full 10% lifesteal. Nice Flay. Rank 1 Flay sets up Cash Maintenance perfectly, because normally if you're playing Thresh, you do too much damage with an auto attack because of the Flay passive. So instead you just use Flay the active, and it's free last hits. Today I learned, actually. I'm not a good Thresh player, and apparently neither are any of my solo queue supports.
Not a surprise.
Yeah. That's what happens in Diamond. I'm not an LCS player.
Well, this is now kind of that break point where the Turtle was trying to really hit, right? He's able to get a nice early buy, gets a serrated Dirk, but I'm pretty sure that there's enough gold on Mod that he could buy a BF. So when that happens, I don't actually think that the Longsword start does anything kind of much for you.
Yeah.
You know, you're hoping that Laud has to buy like a pickaxe or something, and you get your serrated Dirk, right? That is where I think it's really going to pay off. But in this sort of situation, Turtle is actually kind of mismatched in his items. He's the one started with the greedier build, but wasn't able to pay off.
I actually wonder if we're even misrepresenting it. What if it's the ungreedy build that you really, really need 3 potions, that you can't lifesteal enough? It actually might be the, oh god, my laning phase, let's get 3 potions laning build. And at least he now has an item to lane with. He's got the serrated Dirk.
Very, very fair point. Hasn't been kind of what I have observed, at least from the pro play. It seems like Varus is able to hang around pretty well in these matchups, but yeah, you know, there's obviously very different opinions on some of the lane matchups and the best ways to go about them. Either way, it's safe to say TSM was not having the laning phase early on that they were hoping for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, at least the minion numbers managed to equalize out. You're right, he spent an extra 100 gold affording potions here, but at the end of the day, it's 44 to 45, and though it looked bad and they're under turret, I can't say that they're really that far down. Level 5 and 4 versus 4 and 5.
It'll be interesting to see what it actually evens out on when the wave does finally kind of get over here to Laud. He has missed a number of CS, but he was a fair bit ahead early on.
Yeah.
I'm also really interested to track kind of Chaser on his Kha'Zix upgrades. W is something that's getting more and more popular as kind of that Kha'Zix upgrade as the second evolution. And I think it would make a lot of sense with Dignitas' comp to go for that. Have the slow, have the poke. A lot of it is going to be about kind of disengaging, moving back and forth.
Yeah.
And I think that could really work quite well in conjunction with the slows coming out from Laud on the Ashe and Karma and a lot of the poke that they have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Just more poke to add to the fire. Feels pretty good. 10 to the flames, everything else. Level 6 on Svenskeren, looking for the top lane play. Haunter is low, but healthy enough to not die to anything. I don't believe any wards spotted this. We'll see if Someday pushes farther. He's going to go for the ward. He's going to kick him over right into the team. Tackle into the wall. Pretty beautiful here. And now Someday just going to run out of HP. One more hit will do it. Tries to get the trade. Can't quite do enough damage. It was close, though. Minion aggro, not quite going to be enough. Svenskeren gets out. First blood through to Haunter.
If he did not pop that potion, he was dead. Fun fact. So that was a really close one. Svenskeren missing that Q and then going for the kick. He didn't go for the guaranteed kick, then Q. That actually made it exceptionally close, and Someday was almost the one picking up a kill there. But TSM does get the kill, and in the bot lane, I mean, it's actually Laud had missed a number of CS there. It had swung pretty hard, so TSM doing really well across the board.
Looking for even more, although it's first Chaser and Keen. Now that the Kha'Zix is level 6 with the 2 shields, just absolutely eviscerates that Mountain Drake, even though it's tankier than others. Evolved Claws is massive single target DPS, just chunking that down. Chaser doesn't even have Smite, didn't care, knew they had the lane pressure. Nicely done.
Yeah, exactly. They saw the TSM bot lane backing, so they do get that trade back. And here's the play once more. So he actually goes for the Q, then the kick after. Could have got that guaranteed Q, and this is what makes it really close. And you have to love the effort from Someday there, not giving up on the kill. Exceptionally close, and the cannon swap dagger. I think one more cannon shot might have been it. It was very close.
Even want to point out some small optimizations. I don't know if Q is on cooldown or not, but Someday only used Shock Blast at the very end, because the auto attacks will stack fervor buffs, so that you get more total attack damage, that Shock Blast does more damage itself. Whether intentionally or not, it's what happened. He cast at the end, and again, that kill was within 5 damage of going through, so that optimization was required.
Mid lane seems to be quite even once again. Bjergsen now on the kind of little bit of a disadvantage in this matchup. He's the one a tiny bit of CS up, so these guys are very evenly matched, looking really strong. TSM does have double tier stacking, so while this does kind of slow down a little bit of their power in the early game, when you do start hitting those tier items, you're charging up, and you do have to kind of take that into consideration. It's kind of scaling items. You kind of get the payoff later on.
And it looks like Laud, I'm going to guess, is going for an Infinity Edge build because he bought a dagger instead of a... And he just recalls anyway. It's just scumbag from Svenskeren. Didn't even need the satchel plan. animosity in the TSM house.
I feel like they might have looked bot lane had that not happened.
Yeah. It's like, you don't gank my lane enough. Satchel you back over. Go hang out with Bjergsen some more. You like him so much already. That's what Mike Check really is, guys. Don't worry, I got this. Yeah, someday. We're running out of health pretty rapidly. Good couple of hits come through. Running through the acceleration. Gate the flash Q. Flash over the wall to get away. Rate of flash is pretty equal.
Yeah, it looks good. Now, I actually like that quite a bit from Hanser, being able to play aggressive like that. We talked about it. Tabby's already very early on. Excellent against the Jace. Now he's building into a pretty tanky build.
Yeah.
And a flashless Jace, you can set up dives with Lee Sin quite well. So Chaser has to be aware of this, has to protect Someday, as Someday's TPing back in. And junglers have spotted each other. Oh, wow.
Wow,
oh.
that's a big chunk of damage. Svensker and flashes preemptively. He knows Chaser could kill him.
Plus flash.
Oh, not gonna be quite enough to get in a range. Do it, take it. It's totally worth it.
Keen's here too. They're gonna go for the dive.
They could kill him. There's the shield. Chaser gonna flash for the Q, gets the kill picked off. Assist comes through to the mid laner. Hanser still stuck under his turret, gonna start the recall. Flash follow into the bot lane. Look how far up they are. Double flash force into the bot, but there's still more. Bjergsen face tanks an arrow. The flash Q to slow. More damage onto a special. The flash play. Every spell possible being used, and Biofrost somehow claims the kill. Auto attacks of Doom. Sings the hook in. TSM gets a 1-for-1 overall.
The TSM, though, might be able to push bot lane. Do they want to stay here and try to go for this turret? There's 3 members bot side. Looks like they're going to stay around and try to get first turret, because Chaser did not stay top side to help his teammate push. So this may go to TSM in the big picture of things. It's a 1-for-1 kill now. Looks like it's TSM who may get first turret. Do they have the damage?
They've got to wait for at least one more minion wave.
Like it, yeah.
Lod can volley this, or just auto attack. Both works. And all right, Bjergsen spent 30 seconds not clearing mid lane. He lost a mid lane wave. Sven had to pick it up, which means he's now revealed on the map, which means Chaser can take some jungle camps if he wants to. And yeah, this turret will not be taken down. Lod not even going to be threatened with a second dive.
So well played from both teams. Flash for flash there. Biofrost predicting the flash backwards, can't get it. But then Bjergsen here, ulti flash in on special into the flash play from Biofrost, and he cannot get out of that one. You cannot flash out of that miasma. He'd already used his anyway, so will go down.
Yep. Special played it as well as he could. He mantra W'd for the heal. Still just wasn't enough. Way too much damage coming through from the TSM lineup. No surprise. Sven, nicely done. Steals away the blue buff. Well played there. I think Chaser was taking Krugs on top of a ward. We just saw that ward timed out recently, so Sven see what was going on. Really heads up play there by the TSM jungler. And look, TSM up 600 gold. And once again, it's not like there's a Fiora who's going to win the game on her own at 30 minutes. There's a higher execution quality required here of Team Dignitas.
Certainly. I think it's a lot higher, because I think that Jace comps are actually quite hard to play. This is just straight up a more difficult comp to play than TSM's, in my opinion, not just than last game. You know, they had a very clear win condition last time with that Fiora, and Dignitas has done well playing around Someday, letting him do his thing, but Jace does not take over a game in the same way that a Fiora does. Yes, you can have an advantage at a side lane in the 1v1, but you're not just killing a Poppy under her turret. That's just not going to happen. Unless you're disgustingly ahead.
Even though Jace is a carry top lane, I feel like his big power spike is, 20, 25 minutes. Whereas Fiora keeps scaling through to 40, that's not the same as for Jace. He'll start falling off later on. They
TP
can't
coming in, they want the dive.
They're looking for it. Oh, canceled, actually. I don't know if that was Someday getting the E cancel or if they decided not to pull the trigger. But either way, that is turret down. First turret gold twice in a row here for TSM. It didn't turn into a win in game 1, but it's a bigger advantage now, 2,000 up in game 2. TSM could get more done with this as they jump into the jungle, clear out some wards, even some aggressive control wards, and Chaser, just gonna run away.
Yeah, and it was actually a cancel from Someday there onto Hanser. I did just check.
Yeah, I think Hanser did manually cancel, realizing because the cooldown's only 2.5 minutes left.
So Someday actually got the cancel with his
Really?
hammer. He knocked him away. Yeah, I did check the replay, so he was able to ward it out, get the cancel, unless he stopped at the exact same time or something like that.
Looks like he did, because it's only on that 2-minute cooldown left.
Okay.
I believe if they force cancel you still get the full 5 minutes, so he double tapped the summoner in time. But either way, yeah, the threat of Someday. You can still say it was Someday.
Yeah.
Cancel the teleport.
It was a good try there from TSM, though. I think that is a good play to go for. We talked about them not being maybe proactive enough with early game kind of advantages last time around. And that's a play where if they can get that off, it's a double flashless bot lane. If you could get a double kill in the bot lane, that's where you can really start to kind of snowball a game very hard. And somebody's able to respond, force that cancel from Hanser. So
we'll see what now Team Dignitas can do. They've got a bit of control over top side right now, thanks to Hanser TPing and not having, recalling and not having TP, but They're not going to go for any further damage. They're just letting Someday clear the wave and get back out. Someday will have teleport advantage for about 90 seconds, and maybe something comes through with that.
I'm actually really curious to track the fact if Dignitas realizes that it was canceled, because Someday did use the knockback on the bot. You know, they may not expect the TP to be up as early as it is.
Let's see if Sven can steal. He did it against Stardock earlier on Lee Sin.
They're going to wait for it to expire.
Nicely played. Perfect execution there. Stop DPS. And we know that an isolated level 9 Q plus Smite is going to be 850 and change. And quick pickup there for Chaser.
Really
Mountain
smart.
Drake.
That's exactly how you do it against the Lee Sin. You let his Q expire because then he does not have access to the execute damage, cannot outsmite Chaser on that Kha'Zix. And double Mountain Drake unlocks a lot of opportunity for them to rush down Baron with the Kha'Zix.
And it even unlocks more of these 50-50s because Kha'Zix's own Q is a big chunk of burst.
Chaser's looking. Turtle is... Ooh, Turtle's
no probably
flash.
just gonna die. There's the jump. Didn't even see it coming. There you go. Q into Q. Thanks very much. Quick pickup there.
He was caught window shopping there, but TSM's looking for a dive on Someday.
Good flash. Both of them to flash that properly. Haunter nearly got the knockup, but just a trade of summoners. But top lane outer should be dying for this.
Oh, but Someday has no summoners now. He's going to get kicked in.
There's the quick kick, clean as you like it. There's the kill picked up also. Someday overstepping his bounds, and once again, Svenskeren playing on point in this Lee Sin.
Really bold to stay around after having that flash forced out, and Svenskeren makes him pay. Good job by TSM. They trade the kills. They get the turret. They're going to lose mid lane turret for it, though. Will they also lose bot lane? As Lot is shoving very quickly there. There's pings onto that turret from Dignitas. We'll see how much damage they can get done on the bot side.
And both Special and Chaser are in this side of the jungle as well. If someone defends unsmartly, they'll just die for it. Quick trinket ward says, hey, we see there's 3 people down here in the bot lane. This will not be defended. That will be, you're right, 2-1 in turrets in that trade for Team Dignitas.
Both these teams are really going tit for tat, back and forth, good calls, and punishing each other for their kind of plays. They're always being proactive, making plays back and forth. But you have to think, had Turtle been watching himself in the bot lane, might have been able to do a little bit better in that matchup. Either way, Someday once again going for the kill onto Bjergsen as he gets kicked in. TSM able to pick that up and the kill, but yeah. Turtle had ultimate available. The Kha'Zix is jumping straight for him. If you hit the ult, maybe you at least force a summoner, right? It's something, and you have to be very careful recalling in the middle of the lane, not watching your character at the LCS level.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a silly mistake, honestly. Turtle probably shouldn't have made that one. Looking at mechanics and everything else, one thing I really like about Lee Sin plus Cassiopeia is if you kick them, they're automatically facing the way they're going, and the Cassiopeia ult is super free. Bjerg didn't use it in that fight, but I think later on we'll see a kick into Petrifying Gaze on someone like Keen or Lot, and there's nothing you can do about that.
TP from Someday, he's on the side, but remember, this is not a Maokai.
Yeah,
he TP's in, but can't run in. You know, we did not see TSM sticking around. And I honestly think that there was some miscommunication there, because I don't think Keen uses his Shockwave to clear a minion wave if you're going to commit to a fight with your Jace TP flank.
Right, yeah.
That seems a little bit off.
I agree, it's off, and now it's 2 major cooldowns missing, the Jace teleport and the Orianna Shockwave. Haunter has his teleport back. We know Poppy Flags can be devastating.
But there's no TP from Someday, and he's shown on the bot side, so TSM can force. They have the tanks, and they're looking. They want to get something done.
You know, it's a 5v4 without a mid laner ultimate, which means damage still coming through. While with the auto attacks, he's got a lantern in case he needs it. And yeah, you can see, doesn't have to respect Shockwave. Distortion won't kill him. Gets to play over aggressive, not even a problem.
Yeah, not a problem yet. We'll see if Haunter, is he going to actually TP to this turret? Are they going to commit to defending it? It's going to go down quite fast here. Yep, there's the TP. So Someday at least gets that trade and will have TP advantage now. Wait, it got canceled.
Wow. Haunter, I don't know if he didn't get arrow. There's no ultis being used.
No, Shockwave wasn't used. He just canceled.
There's no hard CC outside of Shockwave and Ash Arrow. And Special W, but that didn't get used either, so.
I guess he thought that had pushed Someday back enough that, you know, he didn't actually need to complete it and he could get that extra cooldown back.
I don't think it's necessarily wrong if you do play it right. So, make a mark that up as an interesting choice with no objective right answer. The dual lane did show up and defend it the rest of the way. The turret lived.
It's really a question. Which do you value more? A little bit more health on your turret or a faster TP cooldown?
Yeah.
And Haunter is saying, you know what? Poppy's all about playmaking, all about these TP flanks. I will take a couple hundred damage on my turret for potentially a game-winning TP flank or something like that could get them much more than a couple hundred damage on the turret. So I think it makes sense.
And right now, most of what we've seen in this game have been side-by-side objective trades where one side takes top lane, the other side takes bottom lane. And now that these outer turrets are mostly all gone, we might see some more heads-up action to start to really see what these teams are prioritizing. what objectives they're really looking for outside of the obvious outside trades.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning, Chaser did go for the W upgrade second there. Haunter looking for the flank on Laud.
Ooh, that is a crucial flash and well-timed. Haunter not going to get the pick off in this one. Arrow's going to land on Bjergsen. Chaser can't get in. Just kidding, he will because the hook is there. The kick, the fly, everything they need. Wild Turtle gets the kill picked off. 4-2 TSM, mid lane out are going to drop as well. This game looking so much better than game one.
They are looking clean here, and someday it's just not that split push threat. Haunter is feeling confident to rank the roams, group up with his team, and really make some plays here. You know, he didn't even get the assist on that kill, but he is the one who set it up, getting the flash out of the AD carry, isolating Chaser from his team, then Bifrost. Great hook. Just nice play all around from TSM.
And Chaser should have flashed it. I don't know if Leap was up, but he didn't think to use it or what, but that is just a hook in vision in front of a turret, and he goes, oh, you hit me. Oh, that was a mistake then. And Chaser giving up a death that he's better than to give up, but mistake is made. A good hook by Bifrost, and here we are, TSM, with a 4,000 gold lead almost.
I'm going to be really interested to watch some of these team fights and see if Chaser can actually kind of get into the back line and delete Bjergsen or delete Wild Turtle, since Bifrost has not really gotten a ton out of his Ignite. You know, he doesn't have that exhaust, so this is going to make Turtle and Bjergsen, you know, their backline guys, that much more susceptible to a Kha'Zix assassination. So I'm very, very interested to see how they're going to be able to play around that.
Looking for a little bit more. We'll see what else they can get. Ignite does give vision of the target, so maybe it helps them track the Kha'Zix around, and that could be the reason. They'd rather kill the Kha'Zix than lower his damage. Pop goes the Drake. TSM get Infernal for themselves. That's kind of nice to have. Laud just gets away from Wild Turtle. That was... Yeah, you're right. That would have been a dead Ashe almost 100% of the time.
Nice shield there from Xpecial. Just the speed up alone gets Laud out of danger, and he is able to survive. And TSM, while they are carving out a lead for themselves, we have to remember Dig has their ways back in. They have the double mountain. It's a third mountain coming up. If they can claim that for themselves, their objective control, like their objective damage, is going to be insane. So if you give Someday any time alone with a turret, he's going to crush it. If you give them any time alone with the Baron, they're going to take it. So it does mean that TSM has to be really on point with how quickly they respond to objectives and 2 turrets being attacked.
See what they can grab for themselves. TSM going for the split push threats right now. Cassiopeia, equally good side laner to Orianna, I would say, and looks like TSM getting that pressure first. Keen waiting in the brush, grabbing his own blue buff.
Not this time, Svenskar, and I'm
yeah. This time I'm here. You can't possibly be around. There's a quick pickup, 100 gold. Hops into Keen's lap, blue buff as well, but he'll be the second one wave clearing here. Slow and steady this game right now. Honestly, just playing for the Drakes, we'd seen again that Bjergsen soloed that Infernal a little while ago. Baron really not on the plate for either team.
Turtle with the Edge of Night pickup here, I actually like quite a bit, and you know, it's something where it can help to protect you against the arrows, against these kind of big ticket spells. You know, if you pre-charge this in a fight, it can help you absorb a shockwave or an arrow or even a Kha'Zix Q. That could be game-changing. So I think it's a pretty clever choice there, and you can see has it popped up here, kind of moving forward. It gives them some safety to go for poke.
Yep. And it's worth pointing out, we are playing still on patch 7.1. We know 7.2 is the live super patch. Pro play is usually a week late. And so that means this is before all the lethality buffs, or specifically the cooldown buff to Edge of Night.
Bifrost on the side, he's looking.
Snipe on a Chaser. Bifrost takes a whole bunch of damage. There's the shop. There's the kill picked off. Chaser walks right back out. Popping the ulti for the move speed. That's a 1 for 0.
Nice little absorb there from Keen. He's able to get so much damage out onto Bifrost as he comes in, and Bifrost loses his flash, loses his life. That's the risk that you take when you're going in against such a high damage comp. It's, you know, essentially 4 damage dealers on this team. There's no tanks. They really can take you down very quickly. If you hit that hook, you get the kill. You miss, you die.
Absolutely the case. Things to watch out for. Team Dignitas now a bit of a reprieve and some breathing room. A little while ago, got to see a preview of what Someday versus Haunter looked like, and it was Haunter full HP, Someday half. Now, Someday is still getting some armor pen. He's just finished the Giant Slayer recently, and he's just a couple hundred gold away from the combine.
But that said, he needs lifesteal on top of this, I think, to really be able to kind of win in a 1v1 against the Poppy, because you can do a little bit more damage, but Poppy was still at full health, right?
Yeah.
Poppy was not under threat, and does put out a significant amount of damage with her base damage, plus the Iceborne Gauntlet. So Haunter is still king in this 1v1 for quite some time, in my opinion.
And it's worth pointing out that TSM knew this coming in. They picked for the matchup. Team Dignitas, blind to pick the Jace, said it's very obviously Jace top. We've already played Orianna here in the lineup. And TSM's like, all right, that's nice. We've seen Poppy in this one, and it works after 50 minutes in the game. And so far it is. He's had most of the pressure in the lane, and we'll see what else can come happen here. Someday 0-2-0, and really no signs it's going to get better.
And so much of this game is going to come down to the fact that TSM wants to flank, wants to get these big fights, and Dignitas wants to split push and get picks, right? Who can execute better? Is it TSM forcing the fight around in the gates, just like last game, having Haunter? He's waiting in base right now, looking for those TP opportunities. Can he be the successful one, or will Laud catch people out with the arrows? Will Chaser be able to isolate people and get kills like that? Will somebody be able to split push? These are kind of the opposing goals of the two teams.
Yep. Well, maybe we'll see team fights look a little bit differently. We know Shockwave plus Hurricane Infinity Edge is going to be ridiculous amounts of damage. Like the proper 5-on-5 sees 3 members of TSM instantly disappear from damage. And
if you land that Shockwave.
If that lands, yeah.
But TSM has shown they're great at playing around that. They played against Pobelter's Orianna last week. Pobelter was able to get to the point where he had, 3-4 items. He was massive. But TSM tracked the Orianna ball exceptionally well. They had great communication, great patience, and we never saw that Shockwave really devastate TSM. And they're the ones trying to sneak a Baron here, too, man.
But it's in vision. Yeah. Even though it doesn't have the CDR build, Laud still has access to Hawk Shot and says, nope, you're not doing that. We're going to get this control right back for us. And because the exit route TSM must take, it means Team Dignitas once again gets control over the Baron area. And so the vision can go back towards the blue side. Scuttlecrab going to time out soon enough. As we wait for Haunter to find the TP flank we know he can get for himself. TSM otherwise seemingly stronger in the 5-on-5s. Team Dignitas kind of have to show us what their plan is, because it's not a Fiora split push, it can't be.
I mean, Dignitas can win straight up 5v5s, but you don't win it by kind of just like bashing against the other team. You win it by kiting out, by isolating people, by poking, and it's a very fine line you run, because these comps don't look incredible. These poke comps look so good when they're run really, really well. But you make one mistake, that Poppy gets into your back line, the whole fight can just fall apart right off the bat.
Yep. Especially with a team full of squishies. You can get one shot by Cassiopeia, you can get one shot by the Poppy's setup. Well, it's not a one shot at that point, but you can die to the Poppy setup. TSM keeps playing the wave clear game, and both teams look for their openings. If you play defensively enough, the other team doesn't get that opening on you, but it does mean that other squad gets to keep farming more gold as Haunter turns into invincibility here.
TSM definitely would love to grab a mountain of their own here too, but they have to kind of weigh that against the fact that Dignitas could rush this. They have double mountain, and this is spotted out. So this pink ward doesn't actually see the other ward in the back of the pit. That is what we were talking about, how you need 2 pink wards to properly cover the Baron pit now. It's not like the old pink wards. These ones don't fully see it. So Bjergsen going to solo out that Mountain Drake, and TSM looks to kind of close that disadvantage. But Dignitas is moving right back over towards the Baron. Will they start it up?
No Lee Sin, no Cassiopeia, not for a few seconds anyway. Mountain Drake picked up, and that's nice for TSM. Now they've got their own Baron killing speed. Not to the level that Team Dignitas has, but it's probably going to be good enough. And it just feels like this is the problem I'm seeing with Team Dignitas. The more I'm kind of watching them play is they have good players. Their laning is good. We know Someday is an excellent talent. Their laning phase, all that. But they're very slow to do anything in the games. And if they've got a Fiora split push, that's fine. They can win the game by letting Someday do Someday things, but this team is incredibly non-proactive in the mid game.
Yeah, and that was really our criticism of them against P1 in that game that they lost. They were, even with a lead, not willing to commit to kind of taking a Baron and going for these somewhat risky plays. They're very risk averse, and sometimes that can kind of just give your opponents too much ability to dictate the game. Right? It allows them to play their game exactly how they want, take the fights they want, go for the trades they want. But TSM is setting up here in the mid side, spotted out by that Ashe E.
Hanging out a bit close to where the Thresh and Co could be. A little shock blast hits Sven here, and Wild Turtle looks for the play. Spell Shield blocks the Void Spikes. Not the most important cooldown, but blocked regardless. Hook's gonna land on the Chaser. Will they go for the play? Quick root comes in. There's the kickback. Shockwave. Complete whip and a trade of kills. They managed to
coming in from Haunter, though.
4v4. Special got a flash over the wall. Someday gonna flash to run also. And a tackle comes in onto Laud. Petrifying
the flame for fire.
Someday's gonna find even more. They've got everything they need. The kill's still coming through to TSM's favor. 3-1 advantage TSM.
TSM plays around that Shockwave. They avoid it completely. It's a 3-for-1 trade. There's no jungler up, but I think they will be trying to force this Baron. Let's see if they're going to make the play.
They sweep the wards away. You still can't stop Hawkshot from doing it, but it's a 4v2. The Baron is going to be on Team Dignitas' side. And this time around, it's a rare point. But here it is, Lod full HP, Keen, Shockwave in 15 seconds. Looking for the poke, Baron very low, 500 HP, volley not gonna be cast in time. There was a window, but Lod didn't know when that timing was. And TSM walk away with the Baron.
Nice play from them, very decisive. They get exactly what they needed. This is where they can really start to look to bully this game, extend their lead, pick up the last 2 outers, look to push and break the base. And here's this fight once more. Biofrost nails the hook on a chaser, and look at the patience. They don't want to fully commit into the shockwave. They wait. Sven Saren goes in. The rest of TSM backs up, avoiding the shockwave. He trades his life, but it's a fine trade to make as Hanser into the backline, forcing flashes, nails the stun onto Lod, and then Biofrost hooks over, double play. Actually a triple play, hitting special there as he died. Able to pick up a couple more kills. Great playmaking from TSM, great patience to avoid the shockwave and win the team fight.
Really beautiful stuff. TSM farther ahead now. 6K clean the gold lead with 4 Baron buffs on the members. Looking pretty good. They found the team fight they wanted, and it looked nice. 31 minutes in, TSM looking to tie up the score in this best of 3. Maybe a disappointing start to the LCS season, a loss to Cloud9 in a series that was closer than it should have been to Immortals.
Hey, if they could battle back and take this series against Dignitas, that looks really good for TSM.
Yeah.
Most people have Dignitas pegged as the second best team, maybe the third best, if you have BlackQuest really high up there after their win today.
Why not?
But definitely a team that people are really riding high on and have a lot of respect for. So TSM taking them down would mean a lot to their fans and to them to kind of build that confidence back in the team, as it has really taken a big dip since Worlds last year.
Absolutely, and you can kind of talk to anyone on that team, whether it's Reginald or Bjergsen or anybody, and it's like, yeah, it's just been a slow start. We don't feel like the same team that we were at the end of last year, and it's not just Turtle, it's just none of us are playing quite at that same level. That's what I'm hearing from them, and TSM slowly but surely getting their feet back under them. And some teams are slow starters in spring. You know, it just happens that way, but TSM hoping that they can accelerate a little bit more. Hanser, again, just in the face of Someday, with backdoor bonus, tanks the turret and kills it.
You know, basically takes no damage from that, but I think a key thing to point out is also Sven Saren, his positioning. He's staying in between the two, so somebody doesn't know if Sven Saren is right there behind him in lane, right? He didn't know where Lee Sin was. And, nice catch on a chaser!
Found him now, and his chaser dropping another kickback almost every single time. Sven Saren is delivering someone to his lineup. A very clean Lee Sin, and the fact that he's picking off chaser specifically, he said he was overrated. Maybe proving it a little bit here in this game.
Just trying to make him look that way, and TSM, they're cleaning out that extra gold left on the map. They've taken down all the outer towers now. Lod getting poked out. Jungler's down. TSM will look to break the base on this wave, I think.
Here comes the attempt. 20 seconds on the Team Dignitas jungler till it respawns. Here comes the shots in. Looking for a bit more damage. Someday just not even a factor in these fights. Biofrost only hooks a minion. Keen loses a third of his health to Wild Turtle's poke. Inhibitor, you're gonna drop. 8 seconds still on Chaser. 5v4, not a battle Team Dignitas can shake. And out they go, TSM with a clean inhibitor kill, growing the lead to 9,000.
And I like the choice here from TSM. Back off, spend your gold, but here's the catch again. Hanser flanking around. The kick in to follow up the stun from Sven Saren. That duo has been great for TSM today. It has been a lot of focus from Sven Saren on Hanser in the top side. Think back to last year. You know, they always talked about, oh, TSM, people talked about them 2-carry team, Doublelift and Bjergsen. TSM always said, we're a 3-carry team. Hanser can carry us too. And Sven Saren showing they have the confidence to go back to those top lane strategies, to go back to camping for him, and really just kind of leaving Bjergsen to his own devices today.
Absolutely, but Bjergsen, to be fair, putting in plenty of work in the team fights. 2-0-5, tied with his support Biofrost for highest kill participation. Deathless as well, feels pretty good. TSM firing on all cylinders as Wild Turtle even is putting in the poke. Another easy Infernal Break pickup. Why the heck not? No smite needed for Sven Saren. Last hits it with the Q from long range. Zooms in and gets the final blow.
So it's going to be the second Infernal, I guess, of the game there for
Yeah.
TSM. Third Dragon overall. Really having all the kind of hard-hitting late-game Dragons is going to work in their favor quite a bit here too. Turtle finally getting that Muramana transform, which is going to add a lot of damage to him. That is something that is going to really help to pick that up. He kind of neglected to upgrade that for quite a lot of time, utilizing some of the other items in his build first, prioritizing that. And that is interesting to see, because usually people, when they pick up that early tier, do want that Muramana pretty early.
Good juke by Keen. The flash by Biofrost is not quite work out the way he wanted it to.
Top side. Haunter and Svenskeren in there.
2 versus 1. Once again, they push Someday out. He's trying to go for a Bloodthirster. Just doesn't have the damage yet to push him through. Sven tanky enough on his own. And slowly but surely, TSM are chipping away at Team Dignitas' base. Baron buffs have timed out. That's fine. Middle inhibitor's already dead, and they've got split pushes in the top and bottom.
Yep, Bjergsen will shove in the mid lane once more. Super minions there. 2-man squad on the top side demands more of an answer, and they're looking.
Goes to the play, kicks in Someday. That's all the damage they need. Sven's gonna lose his life, though. Keen picks up one. It's a trade, of course.
There's isolated.
Top for jungle. Haunter in the front lines. Takes a lantern to safety, and turret goes down. 4v4 continues. No turret to defend. Chaser getting injured. Ult's not quite gonna land for Turtle. Can't quite hit the shot. Here comes a quick heal on for Haunter and the rest of the squad. TSM healing up. Still chunking down on this. Lod just unable to deal any meaningful damage. That's an inhibitor take in a straight up 5v5.
They're able to get it. Keen is at such a strong point in the game for him, but he cannot find the opportunities for a Shockwave. He really needs to look for that. He's level 18, has his 3 items, working towards Death Cap. He will crush people if he can hit that Shockwave, but TSM is playing so patiently. They get a pick, but only 1 or 2 going at a time. It's never the whole team piling in and stacking up. And Svenskeren kicks him in again. They make the positive trade, lose your jungler, but get the top laner. Haunter able to get lanterned out right to safety, and there's just no opportunity for Keen to really land that Shockwave. You can see TSM playing around it so well.
Yeah, they've just been able to hit him from really far out, and a lot of it is the Lee Sin deliveries that they don't have to come to the target. Dinner goes to them. Thanks very much, Svenskeren. I know Captain Flowers loves playing some Skarner himself, but you know, if you had mechanics, you could do the same thing playing Lee Sin. I like to attack people who can't fight back.
It's easy pickings.
Yeah, that's why I play bot lane. It's like, pick Janet. I'll 1v1 you.
Well, TSM pushing in bot side. They're going to have their team shoving in the top, the mid, and they're really going to look to try to get that 3rd inhibitor if they can. Baron is coming up here as well, and Dignitas is really going to have to make a stand for it. I don't think that they can afford to just give this up. And I just don't know that they're in position to actually do anything about it.
Seems unlikely. Haunter's going to recall back and then TP for the home guard flank. Although I don't know if he needs to do it. Yeah, that's going to be a cancel. He didn't need to be there, but even the threat was enough to keep Team Dignitas running away. Keen took some damage fighting the minions, and another clean Baron take for TSM.
Haunter has really done well with his TPs. I think his cancels have been smart. His flanks have been great. It nets them the Baron, and now with 2 lanes of super minions, the Baron buff as well. You're looking for the miracle Shockwave from Keen. That is what saves this game for them. That is what gets them that team fight win. You know, Chaser, he is that ball delivery system, but it is a one-way trip for Kha'Zix in most of these fights. You're very squishy. And, you know, if Miasma comes down, you don't get to jump back out, even if you get the kill.
You've got to hope the stealth is enough, but even that's going to be revealed through Ignite half the time. And yeah, life is hard if you're Chaser right now. We'll see if you can get anything done, but it is a squishy Kha'Zix. Miracle Shockwave gonna be the look. We'll see if Keen can have 3,000 elo himself, or if that's only gonna be Fallen Lord, whoever gets that title. Team Dignitas looking for the fight in the bot lane. They're hoping it happens. TSM, all they have to do is just be smart about it, keep the team split up, give them only a tank to Shockwave, and they can ride this one home with the gold lead.
Haunter slowly working away at that mid lane and hit. You can see Svenskeren kind of waiting in the wings. If anyone does come over and try to commit on Haunter, he can jump in there, but they can really take this slowly. Top lane is already pushing in on its own. When someone from Dignitas goes to answer top lane, that is when TSM can really close in and take this 3rd inhibitor.
You see the double control works well, making sure they don't know what's coming in. Here comes the play. Arrow's going to land on a Bjergsen. Keen, can he find the play? A little bit of damage. The Shockwave is criminally late. Doesn't cast it during the stun duration, not really sure why, but misses out on an opportunity. But that's kind of the go sign for TSM. They can push the rest of this in, I do believe. Inhibitors, 2 of them have dropped. Top lane Nexus turret getting low as well, and here comes the push in towards the Nexus.
It's so hard to defend this last inhibitor as well, because Haunter and Svenskeren are going to be behind you. Lod getting chunked out. This is going to be that 3rd inhibitor for TSM, and they could go for the game after this. They're still so strong.
It looks like they've got it. Lower and lower the health bars go of Team Dignitas. Is actually the Varus by himself, poking more than all of Team Dignitas can muster. Wild Turtle putting in plenty of damage from the outside, and now it's only 1 turret left inside the entire base. Super minions doubling the size of the TSM army as they come to knock down the final turret in the base. Here's the jettison for Haunter, gonna get rid of Lod, and only the Nexus remains. That'll be an easy pickup. They're gonna chop that one down once they decide to do so. First off, a couple more kills, and now the Nexus falls. 1-1, TSM ties it up.
TSM right back in it. Dignitas looking much less comfortable without that clear win condition of someday on the Fiora. They never really made their team comp come together, and it felt like they were on the back foot the whole time, comfortable to let TSM dictate, but they could not pull it out in the late game. They could not find the right team fight, the right split push. Didn't seem to be able to get anything done in the late game.
Yeah, they blind picked for their top laner for